I've never lost money on flip.
You haven't
Never.
lost money on one.
Never.
When it comes to flipping, like what are you looking for?
It almost always has to be Fayette County.
I mean, some of the stuff you do is like scary to me.
Those are the most fun jobs. If it doesn't scare you, then it's not going to be a whole lot of fun, right?
You say you haven't lost money on a property, and that part,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. A lot of people gave up too soon.
You know, the good ones always find a way.
Right.
So it's really about innovation. It's not about, pouting and complaining about market conditions.
Just gotta keep moving.
Absolutely. You have to evolve.
What do you say you do for a living?
Well, I guess I'm in the construction business by trade, but that involves flipping houses, building houses, commercial remodels, everything under the sun.
When it comes to flipping, like what are you looking for? I noticed a lot of them were in Lexington. I did look up your production.
Yeah, I mean, as far as proximity, it almost always has to be Fayette County. Maybe Madison County, maybe Jessamine County, Scott County, but I would strongly prefer Fayette County just because it takes so much time to travel. And it's hard to get your subcontractors to show up if you're outside of your main market.
So what are you looking for? I mean, some of the stuff you do is like scary to me.
Those are the most fun jobs. If it doesn't scare you, then it's not going to be a whole lot of fun, right?
But you can't make money on all of them, do you?
Yeah, of course. I've never lost money on flip.
You haven't lost money on one?
Never.
So you're saying you're making a profit, right, on all of them. What would it be to not make I mean, obviously there's if you make $5,000 on one, it's not worth it.
Yeah, that would suck. An ideal margin would be 20-25%.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be higher, sometimes it can be lower, but that's probably the average.
Yeah, wow.
I would say.
That's great. Even with all the excuses that people had over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You were still able to do it.
I thought we thrived during COVID. I thought it was easier because everybody essentially quit.
That's how I feel about real estate right now.
Yeah, because of the rates or?
No, I mean, I feel like everybody quit. I feel like, I don't know what the percentage is.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, there was a moment in time where I was really nervous about the market.
Right.
I was really nervous. There was a lot of things.
I think everybody is, yeah.
A lot of things coming together, but then I just I think someone said it about 2007. They were like, well, 50% less transactions, but there were 75% less agents.
Yeah.
Right?
That helps.
There's always going to be a factor of that, and I feel like a lot of people gave up too soon.
Sure.
Which is cool for us.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you always find a way. The good ones always find a way.
Right.
So it's really about innovation. It's not about, pouting and complaining about market conditions.
Just got to keep moving.
Absolutely. You have to evolve.
You got to have some sort of foresight to be able to get into a neighborhood. And like you said, they start catching up with how much money you're making on these properties. Then they don't want to sell anymore.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, or they want, too much money where it just doesn't make sense.
Because what makes me nervous sometimes is when, I look at the top end of the neighborhood. Because you broke the top end, right?
Yeah, over in Kennewick for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I look at the top end of a neighborhood and I'm like, okay, well is that what you do your numbers on, or do you do your numbers on your price above and beyond that? When you're running the numbers, because to expect to get that higher number, the only chances of getting, it's got to be someone paying cash, or it's got to be someone that's got a big down payment that doesn't care that they underappraise, or the crowd becomes more limited.
Sure,
right?
And we've had issues with appraisers before, but I mean, when you have a superior product, hopefully you find an appraiser that can see that. I know that sounds goofy when I say it, but
so you rely on that?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, because it is a superior product. It's normally new construction. Normally the finishes are better, and I mean, we've even in Kennewick, they've pulled comps from Henry Clay area
because they're going for new build. They're going on age.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're pulling comps outside of the neighborhood.
Yeah. Plus, you can normally take and I've had this argument with appraisers many times. I think new construction should command a premium over remodels, but some say no. I think it's the other way. Some say maybe, and then some say they do. But I mean, I think it should, because normally it has a builder's warranty. It's going to be more reliable. Your maintenance costs are going to be lower. Plus, new construction. I mean, they say they don't build houses like they used to. Well, they don't. New houses are better.
Right.
The codes are more stringent. They're more efficient. A new house is better in almost every way. Maybe not character, but otherwise, a new house is better in every way.
I redid the bathroom in my house. I had a house on Glendover.
Yeah, I remember that house.
And I pulled the when we cut the wall open for the bathroom, there was a building permit, a plumbing permit for Eisenhower.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was signed by. Well, his
That's
name
awesome.
was on it. Then I went through the history and found this house on the list, but it didn't really have the appearance, the outward appearance of being one of his houses, but the inside of it had some really
That's
unique styling
interesting.
factors. Like,
And nobody knew that, huh?
it wasn't marketed that way when I bought it.
Well, sure. Yeah, I
When I
remember.
sold it, I definitely put it on the marketing. Like,
I remember walking through that house. That's a cool house.
I actually went to the city office to pull the original.
Yeah.
That's how I got proof that it was that. And for a minute I was nervous because somebody like sent me a message that said,
Yeah.
that's not on the list. Well, then I went downtown and got the original permit for it, and it was on there.
Well, that's neat.
Are you getting these houses from wholesalers? Where are you finding the opportunities?
I mean, you gotta. Sometimes I go directly to the owner. We could have a whole conversation about wholesalers, but I mean, I used to find really good deals from wholesalers, and now I just feel like they've just gotten really greedy. Like you run these numbers, and it's like, well, damn, I'm going to lose money.
Yeah.
And they know that, I think.
Yeah.
I understand, like, they go to the homeowner, right, and they have to put their margin on, and the homeowner is asking more because everyone is in this impression we're in such a great market. I would say out of the 50 wholesale deals that have gone in my inbox the last month, maybe 2 or 3 were good.
Right. There's like 3 or 4 people competing on them.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot
it's-
more wholesalers, too.
Yeah, right. A lot more people stacking deals. Like they're getting some other wholesalers, they're stacking their commission on top too.
Yeah,
So
exactly. They're like
See a lot
daisy
of that.
chaining it. And I've been guilty
See a
of that
lot
a
of
few
that.
times.
Yeah.
I mean, if I see a deal and pass it along to somebody else and I don't have to do anything.
because I've done some wholesale deals. In fact, there's been now that what I've seen are out-of-state wholesalers. They do a novation, I think it's called, where they actually, I don't know if that's the right term, but they're from out of state and they come in, they get someone to sign off on the house. They put the house, they give power of attorney to this guy from Texas or Tennessee or wherever.
Really?
They sign off on it so that the wholesaler gets the rights to sell the house. They've got a basic agreement that says we'll pay you $100,000 for this house per se, and then the house could sell for 150, but these people agreed that they'll sell it for 100.
Interesting.
And then they bring it to me and want me to sell it for them, and I did one, and then I realized,
How was that?
well, it went okay, except
Yeah.
that there's never a time that I've dealt with a wholesaler where everything's been on the up, because it's based on
Yeah.
them saying that they're going to buy the house when they're really not going to buy it. So
Sure.
like, I think anything that you have to tell a lie about to make work probably isn't
Yeah.
going to end up right. So my broker said, and this was right when they passed the new wholesaler
Yeah,
law.
that was going to be my next question, how that kind of matched up with the new wholesaling laws.
Well,
Yeah.
we can get that's like a whole other
It's a whole
topic.
another hour of a podcast on
but
that.
so I've got this house listed. So I had to get the actual owner to put something in writing that said that they understood that this person that they've signed the rights of their house over to was listing their house and selling it
Basically marking it up. Yeah.
and marking it up, and that whatever we had to get them to sign something that said that.
And did the owner know that before you had him sign it?
He did, but not in the text that we put. But the owner then agreed to it. But then I got into my feelings about it, or my thoughts about it, because it's like, okay, who do I represent?
Yeah.
If the only person I'm talking to is the wholesaler, who's my client? Is the guy that's got the power of attorney my client?
That's an agency nightmare right there.
Right. So like, and even in that, so then it goes to closing, and they have an attorney out of Louisville, the one that does most of the stuff that requires 2 different documents
Yeah,
to close.
I've heard
right?
about that firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically what they did was to keep the fee off the closing statement, they made the buyer the seller in this. I don't know exactly what they did, but then it's another broker in town sent this over to me. He goes, "What is this?" And I'm like, but a lot of times that just sails through the system, and people sign
Exactly.
things. The guy,
Yeah.
the seller got what he wanted. The buyer got what he wanted, but then
Yeah.
the buyer's like, wait, hold on a second. I didn't realize this person, but wait a minute. You got it for the price you wanted it for.
Yeah.
The seller got the price that he agreed to. I got paid to do something that I probably shouldn't have got paid to do.
Right.
Right? Because it was not right and it wasn't above board. It felt dirty to me.
I could imagine.
And
yeah. But you said you wouldn't do it again.
No,
though.
it was a younger agent on the team that
Right.
was just getting started, and I by no means wanted to take money out of their. I felt like if
Yeah.
I let that go,
And they brought you this lead, or
Yeah.
what? Okay. Have you heard of one complaint that they've acted on yet? Because that was
no,
always
because
mine.
they don't have. So they established this rule, and they don't have anyone to enforce it.
Exactly.
KREC's not enforcing it. The local board isn't enforcing it. They don't have a governing body to enforce it. So they created a rule that's basically pointless. It did get all the wholesalers to scramble for a minute, which was cool. It was funny to watch them pick up.
It's fun to watch them squirm.
They're picking up the broker and they're making it look like they're going to do this brokerage thing. I think they realized it really quick that it wasn't really something they had to abide by. Now,
I would be curious to know if, maybe someone could do an open records request if one complaint has been acted. Like, has anyone paid a fine yet?
No, but who would they file it to? They don't have anywhere to file it. Like, if you had a complaint, like, you could be served just as well going to the Better Business Bureau. Probably better.
Probably better. Yeah. Well, is KREC not the body that's enforcing?
No, they're a mess, man. They can't even govern their own stuff. So
they can't govern the realtors.
Right.
So now they're going to govern the wholesalers?
Right. So what it makes me think, and it's like, I do believe that people need options.
Indeed.
There's people that are stuck. The house needs too much work. They don't have the money to fix it. They inherit it. It's unshowable. It's unlivable. Like, they're in this position and they don't have the cash or the resources. Even if they had the cash to fix it, they don't have the resources to make good use of the cash, to do it in a way that's going to end up bringing it back to life underneath what it needs to sell for.
I've always told people wholesalers provide liquidity.
For the most part. I've seen some that are slightly like right at the level of being above board. I don't know. Even there, I've seen where things.
I think the top 3 or 4 are reputable and honest.
I've dealt with more negative than I have positive. I've never really had a positive experience where I felt like everyone was telling the truth. That's a tough deal.
Have you purchased property from wholesalers?
I've had clients that have.
Okay. So
I've had clients that have, and I've been involved with a few wholesale deals. And I also came on the flip side of that Melrose deal. You know, I got connected with them. Yeah. And I looked, so I got knee deep. It was 2021, I think. I listed 60 properties for them in a week.
I think I remember that vaguely. Oh, yeah. I remember that coming. I was like, what is this?
And I wish like I had the wherewithal that I do now, because it would have been a totally different situation.
Yeah.
And I felt like, and that was a publicly traded company, so like they had these balance sheets and they had this, the company was all messed up and financially.
Sure.
Well, instead, like they should have taken the other approach where they sold off their performing assets that were already fixed up and ready to go, but they sold the bottom, stuff that they couldn't fix up, which brought pennies on the dollar from what they bought them for. It was really like, and those were the properties that I was selling. And it was really interesting because, I mean, the one that I sold for the least amount was $900.
In Lexington?
Yeah.
Oh.
But here's the deal: it was condemned and it needed to be torn down. And the quote that the city was given was $14,000. So this company was going to have to pay $14,000 to get it torn down. I sold it for $900. So basically, that was a huge upswing for them selling it for $900. I mean, that's the lowest commission I've ever received.
Any lot in Lexington, of course, these days, I don't know about 2021. Any lot's worth $15,000.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if it's on freaking Charles Avenue or something, you know,
right?
Or somewhere even Detroit or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, any land is worth at least $35,000-$40,000 these days.
And those houses were selling for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. You should have bought them all.
I did the math on a video the other day about the difference between the rates at where the low was like 2.75 or something. If you take in the price, the average price of a home was like 220, I think, at the time that those rates were there. Now the average price is like 320. Right. And the rates at today's rate, the same exact house would be over $1,000 more a month, based on $1,000. Almost doubles the mortgage payment for the house that you could have bought 4 years ago. The payment would be double today for that house. Not to mention the value is almost double too, right?
Yeah, there is that. So imagine if you lock that rate in on like a 15-year fixed or something,
20, 30 of those houses. Yeah. Because people did.
Yeah.
There are people that did.
But there are people out there that are sitting on hundreds of them.
Yes.
That they bought at 2008 prices, you know, 2009.
Right.
So
finding your space in a market like this, I think like that's always been the thing.
It's more challenging than it was a couple of years ago.
It is, but there's money to be made, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, people like you and me, we'll always survive because we're innovators. You know, we'll just evolve. We don't sit down and say, well, it's Biden's fault. It's the Fed's fault. It's you know, we don't blame other people. We just evolve. That's how I see it.
I was scared for a minute though.
Yeah, I get it.
But at the same time,
it did kind of feel like it ground to a halt for a second.
October of 22, October of 22. That's where Like it was my late midlife crisis. I mean, I was literally like feeling my heart beat a different
Yeah.
beat, and I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm like,
You
everything's
went and bought
going
a
to
Corvette?
shit. Huh?
You went and bought a Corvette?
No, I didn't. I felt like I was out of money, and it's like it took me almost a year to get everything back in order
Yeah.
and get my head right. It was just my head, and that's the thing. I think when you say innovator, I don't know if I'm much of an innovator, but I am. Like I don't fucking quit.
Yeah,
like I don't
that's what I
quit,
mean.
and I just keep
Yeah.
moving. Like
Yeah.
most of the time, I'm positive.
Sure.
Most of the time.
That it takes a positive
90%,
attitude.
90% of the time.
Well, yeah, none of us are positive 100% of the time.
So what about challenges? Like what kind of
Mm-hmm.
challenges have you seen? Like you say you haven't lost money on a property, and that part,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable.
superstitious.
But you're not super conservative though either.
No, I wouldn't say. Yeah.
Right.
You can't be.
Right.
Yeah. You have to kind of do different projects. If you like take foreclosures on the internet, for example. If you're out there bidding with every other person that flips a house on a property everyone knows about, it's a race to the bottom.
Right.
So same if you're in like the home place or any neighborhood where there's 20 builders, it's a race to the bottom.
Right.
Especially with these rates.
Yeah. Right.
So you have to find kind of unique projects. Like the house I built on the corner of Scoville and Montclair. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the guy didn't want to develop the lot and sold it to me. He made like 50, 60,000, and I ended up building almost a $2 million house there. And there's no competition.
Right.
No one else is building new construction in Chevy Chase, Montclair area.
Right.
There's like 2 that I know of right now, and they might even be sold.
So finding those properties, finding those lots is really the game for you. You
Yeah.
tearing stuff down yet?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We probably tore down 6 or 7 houses in Kennewick,
Really?
all of which needed it.
Yeah,
I get a
yeah.
lot of. We could have a whole conversation about my reputation in the neighborhood over there, but
They
they think
like
that
you
I'm
over
just
there?
hell no. I think you were being sarcastic, but yeah, they think I'm tearing down these architectural gems.
Yeah, right.
Well, they have foundation issues, they have termite issues, they have mold issues. They all needed to be torn
Right.
down.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
from a business standpoint, it's impossible to fix some houses.
No,
Like,
you
it's-
can't.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not economical.
Right.
Yeah, I've tried it. Trust me, I've done it both ways. I've
Right.
put it. I've done all the foundation work, done all the framing work, and in the end, I was like, damn, I should have torn this thing down.
So people in Kennewick, you're challenged by them, or they're challenged by you. Like, what's their biggest complaint? That tearing the houses down? Or?
And they don't like. I mean, you've probably seen it. I've built a lot of houses for Airbnb clients over there.
Yeah.
It's our 2-story kind of farmhouse looking house. They don't think that fits the neighborhood. So not like it matters because it's not historical. Yeah, and I mean there's probably 12 different architectural styles over there. So who's to
There
say
is.
what fits the neighborhood?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because
I'd
you
say
get
that's
down
their
towards
main
the 3, 4, it's for the 4 block?
Yeah.
Is that all the way at the end?
And there is a small sliver of a 400 block over
Right.
there, yeah. But it's
And those are like shotgun houses.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They have duplexes. They have commercial zoning.
Yeah.
They have a coffee shop. They have a few churches. So it's mixed zoning over there,
It
and
is.
I think that's great. But they can't stand on their high horse and say that I'm ruining the neighborhood because of a particular architectural style.
Right. What about the Airbnbs? Do you own any Airbnbs?
I don't. I wish I did own a few. Well, I don't know about now with the new zoning regulations, but I wish I'd held on to a few.
Have you stayed up on the zoning?
Yeah, I have.
Because you've built a lot of houses that were...
Yeah, and I want to know what my customers are thinking too.
Right.
There was a while I would say 40% of my business was Airbnb customers.
Yeah.
So of course now they've all kind of pulled back because they're watching to see what happens, and a lot of them don't want to go through the whole board of adjustment process.
Right.
But it's interesting. I mean, that's another criticism. They say there's too many Airbnbs in Kennewick, but statistically compared to other neighborhoods, it might be marginally more,
Yeah.
but it's not
Right.
20, 30% more.
Right.
Because there's a lot of houses over there.
So all the people that have them should be able to get a permit to...
In theory, have you heard about that?
I haven't really stayed up with it, but
Deny.
even the people that
deny.
had them?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Especially, I hear from one of my clients that I would say 55% didn't apply by the deadline, which was January 18th, I think.
Yeah.
So they're just, I don't know if they've taken them down or not, but they were just sitting on the site technically against the new zoning laws. So
That, to me, like when we had an Airbnb on Zandale, and man, we had it all set up. It was booked out, and then COVID hit.
oh,
And
Man, that's
Airbnb
tough.
let everybody cancel their thing without any repercussion whatsoever. I mean,
Sounds about
I'm
right.
talking about we
Yeah.
had like 4 or 5 months stacked. I mean, it was like we're like, this is the best decision of our lives. We're gonna make a ton of
yeah,
money.
you're feeling great.
We're great.
You spent all this money on furniture, I'm sure. The
No, it was
furniture is
actually like when Blair and I combined homes.
Oh,
So it was
okay.
like we
So you
already
kinda
had the
already had
house and
the
we already had the
smorgasbord.
furniture.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we actually turned that into a yearly rental. We've had the best tenants that I could ever imagine there
good.
every single year. That's been good, but the Airbnb, like I was like at that moment I was like, you know what? Like all that money just got ripped out of our account.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't in our account yet, but it was like they made this decision, this corporate decision
You had
to
all these
allow this
bookings,
happen
too. Yeah.
with nothing, and I just said to myself, I was like, I'm glad I don't rely on this. And I think about the people that have houses that, they're counting on
20, 30 houses.
right,
Yeah.
and they're counting on that income to pay their bills.
Sure.
Like,
And there's a lot of overhead too. You
And-
got full-time cleaners, you got
Yeah.
furniture, you got utilities, mortgage payments.
management fees, people that pay the
Yes.
managers, I think that's completely nuts
Yes.
too, because Airbnb
Yeah.
is so simple to use. It is
Yeah.
so simple. Like
don't
there's
know-
it's not rocket science. And if you have a
they've
good
designed it
cleaning
that
lady,
way. Yeah.
if you've got a good cleaning lady,
That's the most important part.
or a cleaning person,
Yeah.
you don't have to have somebody, the management is just ridiculous.
Unless you wanna be-
Somebody said 30%. When
Oh,
somebody said
no. Really?
30%. They were trying to, how,
From like Kentucky Life or somebody.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Shannon Denniston.
Oh, really?
He was talking about one of his, and I'm like,
okay.
but then he was trying to sell it, and he was talking about the management fee, and I said, look, man, if you want to get this kind of money for it, you have to be able to sell it without the management fee. That management fee is
It's brutal.
it's brute, like
Yeah.
30%.
And Airbnb takes their cut, and then how do you make any money? I don't see how you pay those two costs and come out ahead.
But with the change in rules and the change, I mean, we do have
brutal.
we have one down at Lake Cumberland.
Do you?
But
Yeah,
it's
I've
our
seen
next door to our house, and
Well,
I don't
yeah,
care if
then
it
it's
rents
easy.
or it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it pays the bills for both
Yeah,
cabins.
it's all
so-
gravy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the city pulled a fast one. So first they came out and said, we want all Airbnbs to be like in our database because we don't know how many, what they make, it's all self-reported, right?
Yeah.
So that was their initiative first, and that was fine. And then the way I understand it, more people started complaining, and they were just about to vote on it, and they snuck in that little rule where all unhosted Airbnbs have to be grandfathered in or they have to get a Board of Adjustment variance, and that was not part of their original legislation. They pulled a classic Congress move, where they slid it in to a regulation that had a completely different title. I forget what they were pushing back then, but the Airbnb thing was something they kind of slid in the back end.
Well, I'll tell you, like I had one in Florida for like 5 years, and it was the easiest thing to manage. Very rare. I got one person put a rip in my couch, but that was the only problem I had in 5
yeah.
years.
That's
And I
great.
mean, I had it booked out. Like it would be booked out.
I hear Florida's a good market. I'm sure it's saturated now.
It's
but
tough because a lot of them have rules on the time frames. Like the place that I was at, I could actually do it down to 6 days, and I would push that to 3 sometimes. But you get some of the places, they have a 30-day minimum. Well, it's hard to compete with someone that has a week. So
Sure.
I was competing, like my prices were, like if it was monthly, I was charging weekly, it would be $4,000 a month.
Right.
$4,000 a month, you can be on the beach, and mine was on the marina. So I was actually able to get way more for it because I could do it weekly. But I didn't really realize like what the challenge was until I had the one at the lake, because I see now like what happens is the locals rent them and they tear them up. Like you don't see that as much in Florida because people are traveling from out of state to rent it. But
they normally
a
have
place in Lexington, like I can't imagine being a 20-year-old in a college town and having the ability to throw a party at a sweet Airbnb.
At a $600,000 house.
That's
yeah.
what I mean. I was doing it. I was throwing parties in fields.
Those are the
I was
days,
throwing
right?
parties in fields,
I
right?
know,
Like
today's college kids they're spoiled.
Yeah, I mean,
they
shit.
are. Yeah.
Like you could have the coolest
Technology.
house in town and
Yeah.
rent it out and make all kinds of money. And
I mean, look at that bourbon house on
on
Broadway and
Maxwell.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that place is sweet.
It is
Yeah,
sweet.
I mean,
I've seen the pictures of that.
There's crazy Airbnbs out there. You can rent a $2 million horse farm. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just crazy stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you see things going, man? As far as what are your plans? I mean, you just gonna
market or-
like with investing with the market, like what are you like your path, you said, building on lots in the city, right?
Yeah,
like
a lot of infill.
right?
Yep.
And the Airbnb thing, you're not doing as much.
No, all my customers are kind of pulled back. You know,
Right.
they're waiting to see how other people get approved, and it's really not been promising so far.
Right.
There's been so many denials. I mean, again, it would be interesting to see the city's data on success rate. I mean, I would bet it's 15%,
Right.
10%. It's not good.
Do you think it has anything to do with like hotels, like the money behind
You think
the
the hotels are lobbying?
Yeah. Do you think that there's something that's there's something more than just the city saying we're going to do this for whatever reason that they have? Is it because of parties and because of trouble that happens at them?
That's a big concern. You know, that's when the neighborhoods lobby against Airbnb. It's like now it's a whole process. I'm sure you've seen the BOA process. They put a sign in the yard. You have to send an email to all the neighbors in a half-mile radius and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's very public.
Right.
And they'll show up with their pitchforks and say they're going to make noise. They're going to take up all the parking. Those are the common concerns.
Right.
But I would say the hotels obviously have more financial means than Airbnb operators.
Right.
I would say there's some of that goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at all the hotels that are being built. That's, in my opinion, that's a reaction to short-term rentals. They're increasing their inventory. That's their way to combat.
Yeah, right.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I read an article in the Wall Street Journal probably 6 months ago that basically said the hotels will win this war in the end because they have seemingly unlimited resources.
Right.
And they have all of the data and algorithms to change their pricing dynamically.
Right. Just like Airbnb does.
Exactly. But it's not as good.
Right.
You know?
It's not as good as the hotels.
I don't think so.
Right.
No. Because they know, you know, they have all the inventory, they have more rooms, they have more beds, the hotels will win this war in the end, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just look at, I mean, how many hotels are under construction in Lexington right now?
Right.
7, 8, 9. It's a lot. Look how quickly they built those two on what was it? Virginia? No, around campus.
Yeah,
Off
yeah,
of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Next to the chicken place
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
built.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's their reaction to short-term rentals, in my opinion.
The house I live in, I saw you there for the auction, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that house. So you guys got a great deal on that.
Man, like that was what 2021. I mean, it's a peak.
Yeah.
And we finished it, and I used hard money to buy it, and it was I had a huge finance charge, but when it was all said and done, refinanced at 80%.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you cut that tree
proud of
down?
that. Not yet.
Don't cut that tree down.
I've got to.
Is it because it's a mess?
Oh, have you ever had a pecan tree? That's what I asked you in the question.
Yeah, I know. I think I got
You never
distracted. I did it. It's so beautiful.
Anybody that says
like
don't cut the tree down has never had one in their front yard.
I like looking at it, but I don't have to take care of it.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, it throws 3 times a year. 3 times a year, it fills my gutters. Completely fills my gutters. And this last time the leaves fell off, it all happened in one day. It got really cold. And I mean, the leaves were this deep. They were 6 inches deep. Or the whole yard was covered in 6 inches.
You probably got home and you're like, what happened in my yard?
The tree emptied its leaves all of them in one day.
Touche. I'd probably cut it
they've
down.
got
Now
these
that I've
little
heard.
fluffy things that come off. And then all the rest of the year, the pecans are so heavy that the branches break. So I get, branches, 4 or 5 inches around that break off just on a random day. No wind or anything. The branch just falls off because the pecans are too heavy.
What a mess.
And then the pecans are all over the ground, so the grass looks horrible. It's like...
I bet it attracts the squirrels too, and they're running all over.
They got squirrels going everywhere.
Oh yeah, they love your yard.
Hiding those pecans.
Oh yeah.
And then the birds crack them on the sidewalk. They drop them. There's broken pecans all over the sidewalk.
Like a cartoon or something.
It is a cartoon. The tree needs to go. The tree needs to go.
That tree is a pain.
So then I was looking at like what people use pecan wood for.
Yeah.
And one of the things they said is countertops.
Oh yeah.
And cutting boards. But I was thinking what a cool table it would make for this room.
Yeah.
Like taking a big, the tree's bigger than this table.
Oh, I'm sure.
And just taking a big disc out of it and milling it out or whatever.
Or like a live edge. Can you do live edge with pecan?
Do something with it. I mean, I feel like I could make something cool for this room.
You could take it to that wood shop at the end of Winchester Road there. What's it, Longwood or something? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I know the one over on...
where Winchester converges into 3rd Street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, basically
there's one there.
Past that. Yeah, I've heard that. I've never been there personally, but I hear it.
There's one on really for Sales Road, too, that we had. I went to a meeting. They have a meeting room there, too, and the wood, it's got a mill. There's a whole, series of those build shops over there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm back to the investing thing.
Okay.
Like, if there was something particular that you were looking for, what would it be? Do you have a neighborhood, or do you have not to like put someone on your game, but like how do you know which neighborhood to go to?
The one with the least amount of inventory.
Yeah.
I don't like competition.
That's easy right now.
Yeah, like I bought a house that was half finished in the home place, right, at auction. And it's just a mess over there because there's like 12 or 13 different builders, and it's a race to the bottom. And I knew that going into it, so I obviously priced aggressively, and it is pending, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But so the strategy worked. But otherwise, like I would be nervous if I was a builder over there and I had committed to the developer 10 lots. You know what I mean? Because if you look at the inventory over there, I mean, builders, they have their excuses like, oh, it's not finished and blah, blah, blah. But it's an inventory issue over there. I mean, I think it's reflective of the interest rates and just the overall surplus of inventory for new construction in Fayette County. So
You said surplus of inventory. See, I don't. That's the thing.
type in the home place and look at all the active listings over there.
It's one thing I haven't been real active in is new homes, and I've represented a builder for like 1 or 2 months. It was like 2 months maybe, and I was like, And I don't think they're all the same. Just that
Trying to get you down on commission or something?
Well, that's one thing. That's one thing. It's like, but in a relationship, if I don't have any value, then that's not the relationship I want to be in. I don't want to be in a place where someone doesn't need me. Now,
you don't feel like you know enough about new construction to provide?
It's not that. Oh, okay. It's not that. It's a lot of front-loaded work, first of all.
Sure.
You're creating all these marketing materials. You're getting all these systems and organizing. Because any new construction deal I've ever done, which I've done quite a few.
Sure.
Maybe 10 or 15.
Okay.
Every one, the one thing that messes the deal up is expectations. People like somehow, even though you tell people a million times, if they say October, they mean January, or they mean April.
They're almost never on time.
Never.
I'm on time. I'm always ahead of schedule.
But it's like the expectations for people. Like one, I will say this about Ball Homes, is like they have a system for a system. Like if it's like you want to change,
it's down to a science.
If you want to change a light switch or a light socket.
The answer is no.
Well, but if in the certain phase you can, and if you do, it costs a certain amount of money, and it's like you don't really. There's no negotiating, and it's not like, hey, this would be better this way. We should have done it.
They can't. Their margin is so low. They're all about volume.
Right.
So they don't buy land from developers. They are the developer. So that helps too from a cost perspective.
So I think for me it's like, enough because I've thought about this a lot because I know like a lot of new construction inventory sells like January, February, March, where those are like the slowest months of the year usually.
Sure.
Because people bought them in June and whenever they bought them in the hot time and they finished in the cold
And that's
time.
not a good strategy.
What?
If you're a builder.
Right.
Starting in the summer.
Right.
You want to because the weather's good and it's easy, but that's when you should be finishing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've thought about it, and then I'm like, okay, so there's a few builders out there, and I'm like, well, should I call that person? Well, see, here's the deal. If I say to you, how many new constructions did you build last year? How many did you build?
Probably 20, 22.
How many do you want to build this year?
30.
It's probably too late to change for me to be able to change anything.
Yeah.
But if you said to me, you want to double what you did last year,
That would be nice.
Then I'm the person to deal with. Like I'm the person that, because there's whatever the gap is between this and that, whether it's people, whether it's land, whether it's supplies, whatever the gap is, like I'm going to find a solution. I'm going to be useful in that relationship to make that happen.
The market is the challenging part.
Right.
I had a guy that a friend of mine wanted to sell me a bunch of lots in the development in Richmond, and I looked at the inventory and stuff's not selling. So I was like, I don't know. It's a weird time for new construction.
Yeah.
I'm bearish on it. To be completely honest. Yeah. Just because of the rates and the inventory.
Are you familiar with Lake Cumberland?
Yeah.
I mean, you know where it is, but how familiar are you with it?
Well, I see the posts and everything.
Real estate there.
Not great.
Well, something fun to do. Like if you like what you just said is really wise. Okay, not a lot of people think like that.
Yeah.
But Lake Cumberland's one of the best examples of people like overshooting the market or the saturation rate. Right?
Are there a lot of people building like?
No, I mean there's all kinds. There's probably 7 to 10 defunct neighborhoods that.
Really?
Roads. There's electrical.
I've
there's
seen
trees.
that.
There's because And I know why it happens.
Okay.
It's because of someone like me that gets this wild bug that goes down there and is like, oh my gosh, this place is so awesome. Everybody wants to be here.
Yeah.
It's so magical. It's so awesome. But they don't look at how many houses sell a year.
Yeah.
And then they don't look at how many houses sell with a proximity to a marina that's past a mile.
And that's important, right?
They don't look at those factors, and they get the opportunity on this land and say the land has beautiful views, but it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes from marina, you're done, you're toast.
That's
and
tough.
then they put all these restrictions on there that don't mean anything today, like you can't have aluminum siding. Okay, well then nobody's going to build a house here. Everybody's going to want some barn door.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to do it if that's a rule, right? Or you can't have, I've seen some crazy restrictions down there and the neighborhoods are completely empty.
I've always wondered that. Yeah, because I've shopped for land down there before because I like it down there. And there's all these random neighborhoods that aren't finished.
Yeah.
And I've never really searched for an answer.
That's the answer. The answer is that they're not looking at how long it's going to take to sell them when they develop them.
Yeah.
They're not looking at that. They looked at, they have the money. They might be successful at building in Indianapolis.
Cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They got a boat at the lake now, and they were
need
like,
something to do.
There's a piece of land for sale right here, and it's got views of the lake, and then they didn't take into account other elements of it. But then there's also neighborhoods that there's a group out of Tennessee. It's called the Waterfront Group.
Okay.
They developed a neighborhood in Lancaster.
Harrington?
Harrington. That group did that sat empty for 10 or 15 years.
Is that the one with the golf course?
No, Eric Kimball used to live there. And he actually, because when I told him about what was going on with this lots that I have at the lake, because I just let 2 of them expire, which if I have an expired listing, if a real estate agent wants the phone numbers of the people, I would give that to them. People complain about me calling expired listings, but it's like the people have been filled, they want to sell their house. But if I have a listing that expires, take it.
Go for it.
Go for it. I'll give you the photos.
I've tried it.
You can have the photos.
I've tried everything. Good luck.
Well, in this case, this lady is such a sweet lady, and I know she would give these lots away, and they're the most beautiful acre lots that have rolling back, like perfect for a basement.
Yeah.
Well, if you pull up the restrictions, the development was done by the Waterfront Group, and how they used to sell these neighborhoods is they used to do it at trade shows or like at a boating show.
Well,
and they would have
creative.
a stand.
Yeah.
They would have a stand, and they have the neighborhood and the map, and they have the vision of what this neighborhood's going to be. And people bought these lots without ever going to see them.
Wow.
They bought lots. So these people bought 2 lots, and the price that they bought them for was pretty high, but it was like 2000. I mean, this is right before the real estate crash. So it was like 2007, 2006 is when some of these developments happened. And they were selling them sight unseen. So she lives in Florida, has never been to Kentucky. Her husband, she bought them with her husband.
She's never seen these lots in.
Never seen them.
Wow.
She just pays taxes on them. It costs her,
oh my God.
I figured it out. It costs her about $1,000 a year with HOA dues. And with the HOA dues and the taxes for the 2 lots, she spends about $1,000 a year, and it's going to happen for the rest of her life without being able to sell them. Since 2007 or 6. Her and her husband bought them, and he passed away. No. And now she just owns them and pays the fees on them.
Yeah.
And I can't give them away. I can't, because ultimately, I bought a lot down there for $800. That's probably the best buy I've ever made. And it's a mile from Wolf Creek Marina too. It's not even a mile. Perfect. It's right around the corner. But that lady wanted to sell because she didn't want to pay the taxes. She didn't, and the taxes were like $20 a year.
Not paid them a little auction.
But she didn't want it to go off. She didn't want that on her blemish her name when she died.
I get that. Yeah.
She didn't want to have that blemish on it.
It would hurt your credit if you did that.
But she would, she'd be dead. She doesn't have any heirs to pass it on to.
Yeah.
She just didn't want to have that hanging over her head.
Yeah.
So that's why she sold it. But these other lots, I could literally probably tell this lady I would give her $1,000 a piece for them, and she would give them to me.
Really?
But they would cost me $1,000 a year to have. And then when I look at the deed restrictions, it would take a unanimous vote from the neighborhood. But the neighborhood's empty. There's only 2 houses in it. The guy that's
you only need to find 2 people, right?
Well, no, you got all those lots. But the HOA president is one of the houses. So it doesn't benefit him at all to have any more. It's the most beautiful gated neighborhood you've ever seen. The landscaping's beautiful, and it's so manicured.
He probably
it's
loves
unbelievable.
all the green
It's like his own
park, basically.
Park. It's his own park.
What a cluster.
And then the person that was in charge of the finance or the treasurer of the neighborhood, I'm like, look, man, these HOA, because he has a lot that he wants to sell too, and he can't sell it, and he's getting ready to die. And he's like, look, I can't sell my lot. I said, look, it's the HOA restrictions. You guys need to vote to get these. Oh, no. The restriction. I said, we just came out of one of the hottest second market buying seasons that you'll ever experience in your whole entire life. How many lots sold? 0.
Yeah,
it's the HOA.
That tells you everything you need to know.
It's the HOA. I mean, people can't even give the lots away.
What would a house look like that conforms to the restrictions? Is it even possible?
Well, one is the aluminum. Which isn't.
You have to have aluminum.
You can't have
or you
aluminum.
can't.
You can't.
Can you have vinyl?
You can.
Okay.
So
you can't even find aluminum. So
what they say. Well, I'm thinking of like a barn dominium.
Oh, you can't have metal siding.
You can't have metal siding.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like that aluminum.
They actually said no. Okay. They actually said in the HOA restrictions that you had to use something from their plan book, but their plan book is not. They don't have it anymore. So now they have an architectural review.
Oh no.
So I said, so
these guys have a lot of time on their hands.
Right. They're going to do an architectural review on every house. So basically, your deed restrictions say that you guys decide what the house is going to be. That's a problem. Look at how many people have bought here.
Makes people nervous. Yeah. You got to consult the grand poobah.
So that was the decision to let that go. But I did find a guy who has all the emails for everybody in the neighborhood. Yeah. Because he called me to try to sell his lot. Yeah. Because he just bought it and traded a car for it and didn't buy it. And he said that the HOA president accidentally sent it out without blind copying everybody. Oh my God. So that's how he got everybody's emails.
Doesn't mean you can get them to call you though.
But I feel like with the data that I have, if it was something that I wanted to do, like it would have to be more, like if there was a way to make money, I think maybe. Because I can't do it just out of good deed alone. Because it'd take too much time.
Sounds like a cluster, really.
It's just a mess. But that's the kind of thing that happens when people don't pay attention and they sign things and they buy things. They're stuck with it.
In all of Lake Cumberland, what would you say is the most desirable neighborhood right now?
I believe it's the one I live in.
Really?
I mean,
what's it called?
But I'm like, not that Jamestown is such a great marina because it's really gone to shit. But
I've heard that.
But the location of it is the best, I think, for Lexington.
We used to have a boat at Jamestown like 15 years ago.
Yeah. And that's the neighborhood that sits above it, right there, Harbor Springs.
Okay. Off kind of like if you're going down the steep stairs off to the left?
No. If you were coming, like the last intersection, like you come through town, and then there's like one road that crosses. Yeah. And you would take a left right there, and then an immediate right, and that's the neighborhood that sits up above the marina.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. What's it called again?
Harbor Springs.
Harbor Springs, okay.
Yeah.
Are there any lots left?
I mean, I have a couple.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I got my guy across the street, he owns like 13 lots.
Wow.
He owns he owns the corner on, I think it's 92 is the highway that goes through there. Or no, 92, I think that's what they call it. And then this is Scott's Chapel, but he owns the house there, and then he's got all the lots across, because I have the first, the second, third, and fourth. And then he has all the ones across the street. So they're all, and he owns the land behind them. So one of the things he was talking about was if they needed more land for the septic or for whatever, he could put that in there. Because we were talking about how to maximize the space on them, and then whether the rentals or sale value. And what we were talking about was like building because you can't put it has to be a single family home, I think. That's one of the rules. You can't have a duplex.
That makes sense.
But making it so that it has a breezeway in the back that's like an in-law hallway.
Like an ADU.
Yeah, like it's an in-law hallway, but there's two separate garages and two separate units.
Do you think that would fly?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of our design thought.
By the city or the HOA?
I think it would be the HOA. The city doesn't really have many rules down there.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
they're pretty lax, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, building inspectors are pretty lax.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So that's another thing I've been thinking about.
Yeah. I've always been, we used to boat at Lake Cumberland all the time. We had houseboats and stuff, but we owned one house in Lily Creek, but that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's Lily Creek doing?
That was the golf course?
Yeah. Not a golf course anymore?
No.
I had no idea.
Hasn't been for a long time.
Wow, so it's just green space?
Where the horse was, yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
sad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't imagine buying a house. I think about that with Andover too.
Oh, I know. The Andover people, it worked out though. I guess. I mean, it's rebounded over there.
Yeah.
So
I
and now
that
they
was
got Carson's coming.
That was the only country club I was ever a member of.
Yeah.
I was so proud that I bought that membership. And I was so let down the first day. Like nobody knew my name. Like the movies. Nobody knew my name.
Yeah, you
It
thought
wasn't
you were going there like a baller.
I thought I was balling out, and I was like, I felt like a slug.
And they're like,
but-
who is this guy?
And then it closed the next year. So
Oh man.
yeah,
You've had the worst timing sometimes.
that was a good timing. I don't golf. I haven't golfed since COVID now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into golf more.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
So yeah.
Y'all filming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
What's going
Nice
on?
seeing you, man.
Good to see you.
I'm across the hall when it comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess we can wrap it up there, man.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I want to get into Lake Cumberland more though. That's something I'm thinking about doing this
Man.
summer. Is it cool?
I love it down there.
I've heard it's hard to get covered slips right now, right? Is everybody booked?
Mine's uncovered. I had an option. I thought I had an option on one, but like, I don't think everybody is, and they're building a bunch more.
Really?
Yeah.
Which marina?
what's his
Wolf
name?
Creek?
Hamilton.
I don't know Hamilton.
Not Hamilton. The guy that everybody doesn't like.
Oh, at least Ford?
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
a good dude.
Is he? I've never met him. I hear about him on the group. I'm in that goofy Lake Cumberland group.
Yeah,
But that's how I live vicariously through Lake Cumberland now.
yeah. And then there's Wince that started his own alternative page.
Did he really? I need to get in on it.
Lake
Wins is a
Cumberland. It's like
character.
Lake Cumberland Boaters 2 or something. He got them so
Really?
pissed off that they kicked him out. He's like, you kicked me out.
That guy doesn't give a
Found this-
shit.
But
Yeah.
then they tried to get him like copyright infringement. He's like, what? I mean, you can't
On a Facebook group? Oh my
or
god.
something. There's a whole like the name of it is based on. I mean, he's funny. He can get some people riled up.
I've never met him in person, but he seems like a real character.
He's the one that flipped the cabins for me when I first bought the cabins. I
Yeah,
bought
I
them
thought
like,
so.
right after March.
He did all your work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to know him then, and then since then he's like big time, man. He's been
Really?
building so much down there.
Really? I
He's
bet.
got a really good reputation down there at the lake,
Well, that's good.
and
Yeah, I hear he's a good builder.
Yeah, he's done a
Yeah.
lot down there. He's done a lot down there. Now he's too busy to do stuff for me, but
Yeah, I get it.
That's what
yeah,
happens.
The big money, those big barn dominiums and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's probably what people are building down there.
yeah.